right? Like all of a sudden, everything's just a complete wasteland.
Yeah, about Thunderdome is already a wasteland.
Yeah, and they keep bringing up like the oil wars, and I think every movie they replay that same kind of footage of like bombs going off, and they got radio noises of the wars and whatnot. So you kind of have some idea, but yeah, there hasn't been a clear cut. This happened, so this is why it's like this. It's more or less the world went to crap, and now everyone's just insane and wears leather and
wears leather.
Calls themselves Toe Jam and Dementis and whatever.
Got some guy rubbing his nipples the entire time.
Oh my god! That bothered me. He did it so much in this movie, James. And I was telling him afterwards, I'm like, yeah, man, him rubbing the nipples just really distracted me. I didn't like it. And they were like, well, he did it in Fury Road too. We watched Fury Road. He did not touch his nipples.
He did not.
Much.
Yeah, he did not.
He did not.
He was still big, but he was not touching his nipples like that.
Right. But it's cool to see him in this one. It was neat to see like him and the bullet guy.
Yeah, Nathan Jones.
Yeah.
His two sons.
Yeah. And the one you don't see in the next one, because I presume he just dies.
I think so.
Yeah. And the fact that he's like, even back then, he was still like trying to create the perfect kid. Oh, and the doctor dude, the organic mechanic, he's the same actor. He's the same dude. They brought him back for this. That was cool. Nice touch.
So now that you've seen the film and you watched everything and you see how it performed at the box office, do you think they're going to do another one, or do you think they're going to just do something else different?
Well, I know it just dropped off like globally. I think the numbers finally dropped or whatever, and it's hard to say because I know a lot of people. When they're talking about this movie, they're like, "Oh, it's a girl boss movie, and that's why it didn't do so good." Well, first of all, Furiosa was not a girl boss.
Not a girl boss.
She got
movie.
her ass kicked.
Yep.
All the damn time. She had a horrible time throughout this whole film. And also, too, when you look back at it, Mad Max already is a very niche franchise. It's not a Star Wars. It's not a Matrix. It's not a giant blockbuster franchise. Fury Road was a blockbuster. But even then, I think it barely made the money back when they did that one. And that also alluded to why it took so long to make this one, because there was a lot of stuff between the studio and George Miller. Apparently, the studio didn't want to give George Miller all the money.
Which is Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers that he made off of it. And they tried to say, it's like, well, we wanted a PG-13 movie, but you gave us a rated R movie.
When you do a PG-13 movie, you don't limit your audience.
Right.
But I don't know any kids that would want to see a Mad Max film.
Right.
So you might as well just make it rated R. It's not very kid friendly.
The most kid friendly Mad Max film you have is Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Right? Because it has like a weird like Lost Boys vibe to it, or like a Hook vibe.
It's very silly.
Yeah. And so the franchise itself is already pretty niche. If it were to continue, I know he's got another script for another actual Mad Max film called The Wasteland, because he wrote all these scripts around the same time. Mm-hmm. Like. It was him kind of writing to explain like where Furiosa's been and where she came from, and then like also where Mad Max has been and all this stuff. And then it was just enough material to where he's like, hey, I can make 2 more movies out of this.
Yeah,
right?
But you could.
Yeah. And that was the plan. Like Furiosa was supposed to come out a few years after Fury Road, but then the legal battles happened and that kind of deterred him. He's also like 80 something years old too.
He is.
And
he said he wanted to do another Thor. He would like to do a Thor film.
Oh, that'd be neat.
That would be nice to see him in MCU.
Yeah.
It'd be a welcome, too.
Because you know what's funny? He's only ever done Mad Max movies, and then he's done, like, Babe and Happy Feet.
That Babe one always gets me.
Yeah.
And the Happy Feet one.
Yeah.
It's like...
strange, right? Just like, okay, Mad Max and then Babe and Happy Feet are your claims to fame here.
Yeah, I'm like, really? Babe?
Right. I don't know if it'll get a sequel. If it does, I'd appreciate it. I'd love a sequel. I just like how weird and kooky this world is.
Me too. I loved it, man. I love the film. I told you that before.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool film. I understand that it doesn't register with everyone, but not every movie's going to register with everyone.
Joel called it a mini series.
It does feel like a mini series.
You're right.
It could have been.
My argument to that would be every movie's kind of a mini series.
Every
movie is like an hour and a half, 2 hour like story. That's what a mini series is. It's about 2 hours, and then it's like 3 episodes, and each episode's like 2 hours, right? They're movies.
Well, the only thing with a mini series, you're just missing the commercials part.
Exactly.
That's the only thing. It's like what Will Smith said. It's getting harder and harder to have a big hit.
Yeah.
And you have to have, if a movie has to have either be high or it better be somewhat. It's going to be probably low.
You're right.
And that's just the way it is. And no one knows more about bigger hits than Will Smith.
Yeah.
Because he's had high and high movies, and he's had low and low movies.
Yeah.
So it's getting harder.
Well, somebody also made the comment that, the MCU kind of skewed everybody's opinion on what a hit is, or what a successful movie is now. Because like for the MCU for a while, they were billion-dollar movies, like globally, billions of dollars every movie. And so now that's been the comparison. It's like, yeah, you made your money back, but did you do MCU money? It's like, well, that's not really.
But that's how they base it.
Relative, on. Yeah.
It's like in sports. It's like, oh yeah, you did good. You had a good regular season, but did you win the championship?
Yeah.
No.
Like,
but then you didn't have a good season.
Right.
And that's just the way the MCU looks at it now.
Right.
Like I think some people were talking about Superman. Superman has to hit over $1 billion in order to be successful.
That's a crazy amount.
That's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
No movie's gonna hit that amount.
No.
DC has had like 5 or 6 failures.
Yeah.
And you're expecting this movie to come out the gate hidden.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's gonna be hard for that to be a hit. Even if it is Superman.
Yeah.
I know they want it to be a hit, and it needs to be a hit.
Yeah.
But to say it needs to hit like $1 billion,
right.
out the gate,
that's ridiculous.
No, that just can't happen. I predict a movie like that probably be in the Planet of the Apes type money. And Planet of the Apes was a good film.
It was.
I love that film. The music was great too as well.
Yeah, I've heard it's very well. What hurt Planet of the Apes is the fact that it's just an old franchise.
It's an old franchise from the 60s.
The first one's only like really the biggest hit out of all of them, outside of the new trilogy probably. So it's just been around for so long.
Mm-hmm. You just got to find a way to make these hits. You got to find a way to make a hit.
You're right. And I mean, also too, if Mad Max, if they don't make another one, it's fine. I think this one was a good coup de grace.
Yep.
Because it really it explained more, it showed more of the wasteland, which I did appreciate. I did enjoy seeing that, or even, I don't know, just like how everything worked and how everybody acted. And here's a question. Do you think Furiosa changed your identity like a few times in that film?
What do you mean?
So at the beginning, when she gets caught by Morton Joe and stuff, or when she gets traded to Morton Joe, she's like with the wives, right? And then the one son was trying to like creep on her or whatever, so she managed to get away. And then she infiltrated, I guess, like the engineering people as a boy, right? She hid herself as a boy.
Oh, yeah.
Again, we were talking about like, oh, but she grew her hair out. Like, how come they never noticed? I think when she linked up with Jack, the dude on the first war rig and on the Fury Road, I think when they came back, they just told the story of like, oh, I found her on the Fury Road, so she's going to be with me now. I think she changed her identity again.
She could have.
Yeah.
She could have. I think I see where you come from. I have to watch it again because, like I said, it's been such a long time. Because
after that's when she started growing her hair out and stuff. And so I think when she came back after that, she was like, oh, I'm a girl. I'm a different person entirely. Like, because I don't think she ever told anybody her name until after she got back from the stowaway trip.
Yeah.
So that's just my little headcanon. And did you think they were in love or?
No, it definitely felt like they was in love. They were in love.
Right. That's what Joel thought. I don't know so much if they like had a romantic ties. I think part of it is just bonded by trauma.
Oh, trust me. I know a lot about that. Yeah, bonded by trauma.
You're fighting for your life, driving this big rig between, economies or castles or whatever. Yeah, it's just two. I think some of it is just being bonded by like all the crap you went through. There's that scene when Dementus captures them too, and they're kind of like whispering stuff to each other. And Joel was like, oh, I think they were telling each other how much they loved each other or whatever. And I was like, I think she was telling him the way to get to the green place. I like to think that like they were still hopeful, and she was like, hey, if we get out of this, or if you get out of this, you run there or whatever. It's ambiguous because you don't hear what they say to each other. They're just like whispering and stuff. They're not kissing on each other. It looks like, I mean, they're close, but
I don't know why that was so funny to me. It's like, you're thinking totally the opposite.
Yeah.
I think they're telling they love each other.
I think they're telling each other. No, I think they're planning. I think they're trying to plan how to get the hell away from this dude.
Oh, man. Leave it to you, Jacob. Art of Steel.
But you know what?
Art of Steel.
But again, that goes back to, I like how ambiguous some things in this movie are. It doesn't hold your hand the entire time, right? It leaves things open enough for you to interpret it how you want to interpret it, right? Like, I think she changed her identity like 3 or 4 times while she lived here, whereas other people might see it and be like, how come no one noticed? Like, it's the same girl, and how come no one noticed? Like, X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, maybe